The mainstream media is increasingly understood as an instrument of power and control for the few, and thus overwhelmingly hostile to the public interest. For ever-growing numbers of people, the true agenda of the mass media is to disinform, obfuscate, omit, and otherwise manipulate the public into policies that concentrate power and justify perpetual war. But among the giants within this insidious business is a Goliath that stands above all others, the BBC. In this edition of In Focus, we shall explore the true function of the BBC and the reality of paying for propaganda in the 21st century. In the interest of full disclosure, I must declare my personal relationship with the BBC as a guest on Hallmark BBC programs including Newsnight, Panorama, BBC News, and Hard Talk. Based on my personal experience with the BBC that were overwhelmingly hostile experiences, along with years of analyzing the BBC, it is clear to me that the BBC is an extension of the UK government and a dangerous propaganda machine masquerading as a news outlet. Having said that, my personal feelings are irrelevant, but my personal experiences give great insight into the true nature of the BBC.
My guest today fought as a U.S. Marine in the Gulf War, but is now going to Iraq for a very different reason. His plan to lead a group of anti-war protesters and offer himself as a human shield in the event that an attack takes place. Is he an idealist or just a willing tool for Iraqi propaganda? Mr. O'Keefe, how many anti-government demonstrations do you see in Iraq?
How many anti-government demonstrations? They don't exist.
No, they don't exist.
You and I both know that.
Exactly.
You and I both know that.
Exactly.
Ken O'Keefe, my guest today, was on that boat and involved in the violence. So was it worth it? Israel might be the first to say that it regrets loss of life, but the argument is the extent of provocation. They say it was self-defense. And one of the commandos describes, the fourth commander to come down, describes landing and seeing his team leader with his own pistol being held to his head. And he says that is why he fired.
Despite the fact that I've accommodated BBC interview requests on numerous occasions, the favor has not been returned. For the last 18 months, however, every attempt has been made to interview a BBC representative. After months of running around the houses with no positive result forthcoming, I changed tactics and secured the backing of 13 British citizens who have collectively paid the BBC license fee for a total of 465 years. Even with the backing of these BBC license payers, the BBC flat out refused to do any interview anywhere, anytime. Subsequently, we do not have an interview with a BBC representative. Instead, we've used representative clips from the current Director General.
My job, our job, is quite straightforward. We're going to show the British public who pay for this service that we know and will never, ever again forget what we're here to do. We're here to serve the public. Today I want to talk about the future, about new ideas, a new relationship with our audience. But it would be wrong not to acknowledge that we do this in the shadow of some very serious failings, in the shadow of what happened over Savile and also the payoff.
Due to time constraints, we will not explore the damning scandals that have plagued the BBC. It must be said, however, that as more and more evidence comes to light, it becomes clearer and clearer that the BBC knowingly protected a lifelong paedophile in Jimmy Savile. So when Director General Hall refers to the so-called Savile affair as a, quote, failing, it is noteworthy given that Savile is now thought to have sexually preyed on hundreds of victims, the youngest being just 2 years old. Not only that, but Savile is known to have committed many of these heinous crimes on BBC property over the course of decades, all the while remaining one of the BBC's biggest stars. So it makes sense that the BBC would simply like to gloss this over and move on, as it were.
I've spent a good part of my working life in BBC News, and I profoundly believe in its singular importance.
BBC is a model created by the British to control all the other news TV in the world. And you know that most of the TV channels in the world receive training from BBC. So as everybody is copying the same model, everybody is copying the same content. And so you have a big choice between Al Jazeera, France 24, BBC, a lot of channels, but they are all the same channel.
What we don't always see clearly is that over the past 80 years we've built a global news service that is trusted, is respected and relied on by up to 250 million people around the world.
Despite the massive audience, serious journalists increasingly reject the BBC as a credible news source regarding geopolitical issues. This is in large part due to its bias and inaccurate journalism, as well as its undeniably intimate relationship with the UK government.
Well, I've been watching the BBC since I was a teenager. when I'm in England, when I'm abroad, when I'm in a hotel somewhere in the world, right? So I don't take their news coverage seriously anymore. Just to give an example, I was there when John Simpson proclaimed that he had conquered Kabul in 2001. I think that sums it all up, right? I have a lot of fun with the BBC 4, for instance, at 1 a.m. on a Saturday when I'm watching reruns of Top of the Pops. So this is great, but that's about it.
Nevertheless, the BBC remains the oldest, largest, and arguably the most influential media institution in the history of our world. The BBC has over 20,000 employees worldwide and an annual budget of over £5 billion. That's a larger budget than nearly half of the nations on this planet.
To be given the right to be funded by a license fee is a tremendous privilege. The people of this country, make a bold and generous commitment in paying for the BBC.
BBC license payers are generous indeed, but many of them are just downright frightened and intimidated. The BBC sends out 55 million pieces of junk mail annually. This junk mail threatens the public with £1,000 fines, involuntary searches of their homes, and even imprisonment. These methods extract roughly £3.7 billion from the UK public annually. But for those who simply refuse to pay, or those who simply cannot afford to pay the £145.50 a year, those people can expect increasingly hostile methods.
Yes, there's a TV set on number 5. It's in the front room. And they're watching Colombo.
If you don't have a TV license, it won't take us long to find you.
One of the things that TV licenses do, that we object to, is door-to-door harassment of people who don't have licenses, but of those, a number of them don't need licenses. So when they come round to doorstep us, we film them.
Resolve your licence situation.
I don't have a licence situation.
I know there's no licence at this address. That's why I'm calling.
I don't need a TV licence.
You don't have a TV?
I have a TV, but you don't need a TV licence to have a TV.
If you receive live broadcast, you need a licence.
I don't have live broadcast on the TV. I have a DVD player, which I use.
Would you prepared to let me confirm that?
No, I have children in the house. I do not have strange men in the house when I have children in the house.
Fine, that's okay. I'll refer it back and you'll be contacted again.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
What made me permanently go without a TV licence was the Newsnight scandal over the Savile investigation. That for me was the absolute final straw.
TV licensing?
We don't have TV.
Can I just come in and confirm that with you?
No, you ain't coming in my house.
Okay.
I don't have nothing to do with your paedophile ring, mate.
At the moment, we treat audiences like license fee payers. We should be treating them like owners.
Why don't you come out and show yourself? Taking a picture through my 9-year-old daughter's bedroom window. You're a pervert, the pair of you. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
The BBC will learn from criticism and welcome it.
TV licensing. For the video, please. For and on the record. Can I have your name? 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 Are you prepared to identify yourself? Are you prepared to identify yourself? Come here with empty threats, you've got nothing. You don't even know if I've got a telly. You don't even know if I'm using or liable to have to pay for a TV licence. You know nothing. You come to my door asking personal questions and you've got no rights. Power to the people.
The public owns us, and that is what it needs to feel like.
There's no licence at the premises, and you've confirmed there's a TV here, and you've not had a licence since 2011?
No, I never will have one either.
Right, okay, so you're confirming there's a TV at the premises? What I'll do, I'll take some details off you, if that's okay with you. Is that okay?
Would you like to come in?
Do you mind, is that okay?
No, well, you know what's coming next, don't you?
Okay.
At the core of the BBC's role is something very simple, very democratic, and very important. And it is to bring the best to everyone. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whether you're rich or poor, old or young. That's what we do.
Richard, do you have a television?
I'm not obliged to say anything.
Right, what I'll do then, we'll put him for a search warrant.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
That's the only way we have round it.
Yeah?
Otherwise everyone in country would be as awkward as yourself. So
Yeah,
what I'll do, I'll put him for a search warrant.
Yeah.
Whilst police are wasting the time here,
Yeah.
let's hope they've not got all better to do, eh?
Oh, Christ, that'd be a nightmare.
Alright, mate, you have that on your phone.
Alright, yeah.
We'll make sure that everyone who should be paying the licence fee is.
I worked for the BBC for 30 years. When I was at the BBC, it promoted the licence fee by saying how wonderful it was. But now, the organisation you work for says, we know where you are. And I was so incensed by the idea that I'm guilty of something that I actually cancelled my TV licence fee a few months ago. Because I'm not going to have the BBC or any organisation threatening me.
There is widespread discontent about the BBC and about the licence fee, and that the last thing that we want is the German model where everybody has to pay irrespective of whether they actually watch TV or not.
It really is ever clear that the scandals and the threatening behavior is having a negative effect on the BBC. And actually about 10% of all cases in the UK court system deal with people's failure to pay the BBC licence fee. Really, it's anybody's guess just how much money the BBC would lose if indeed its threatening behavior was discontinued. So now let's take a look at the BBC Charter, the founding document of the BBC. Specifically, let's take a look at what the UK public are supposed to get in return for their money.
The key issue in the Charter is that the BBC must exercise what is called due impartiality, and that is normally understood to mean that it has to be accurate, but it also has to be balanced. It has to represent in a fair way a range of views, and that's